First we'll have to take this cover off of for the clutches because it's kind of gets in the way. We'll try to do this with only one hand. I'll remove that, put it over to the side. The next thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to pull this cap off and this cap off the top. You just take them off by unscrewing them. Well, I found out that maybe it might be easier if I take this air box off, and it looks like you just lift it up from the back, loosen the clamps on the carburetor, and just pull it straight out. Oh, my clamps are already loose. I'm just going to lift it out of there as soon as I undo the automatic altitude compensator. Remove it right, and that's right here. I should be able to pull that box out now. Let's see. Oh, there's a strap on the front of it, looks like, hooked to the where the front of the carburetors are. Anyway, that's removed now. Put it to the side. Yeah, it looks a lot better. I can get to those carburetors a lot better now. And since I had to do that, I'm going to take the carburetors completely off. Anyway, I'm going to start out by taking these caps off right here. And this cap off right here. Just unscrew them. Okay. We'll unscrew this one first, since it's the closest. Pull this out and look at it. Looks like the needle's in good shape. The piston's not scratched or anything. We'll just put it over to the side and then pull off this other one. And slide it out carefully. I haven't found no problems yet. Feels a little dirty right here though, because it's kind of gummy feeling, so the carburetors are probably dirty. And I'll set this one off to the side. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'll need to unhook the altitude compensator hoses and the fuel lines. And the primer. Got the primer hoses right here. Pull it off too. And I'm going to pause it. Okay, you should be able to pull the hoses off fairly easy that don't have clamps on them, especially. If you have trouble, just take a flat-headed screwdriver, put behind the hose. I don't know if you can tell, but you put it right behind the tip of the hose and you just pry it off. And you pull the hose at the same time, it should come right off. Okay, now I got all the altitude compensator lines removed. There's 6 of them all together, 2 small ones and 2 big ones. Next, I'm going to remove the primer leads. They're right on the top right here and right here, and they pull off pretty easy. Before you put these back on, you got to make sure that none of those split or anything when you were taking them off, or check them for leaks to make sure they don't leak or anything. Then last of all, I'm going to remove the fuel lines. They usually have a little clamp on them from the factory. You just have to squeeze it with a pair of pliers. I'm going to use a needle nose. Looks like it'll be easier to get these in here. You squeeze it with the pliers and slide it up, and then you pull the hose off the same way. Okay, take the pliers, slide this clamp up a little ways, pull on the hose if it's too tight, use a screwdriver underneath it, pry it up while you're pulling on the hose. I can't do it because I only have one hand and one hand holding the carburetor, the camera. But the other one I made a little bit of a mess. I spilt some gas down there because it took me a minute to find something that fit. But this right here, pencil, fits the hose just right. As I put that in the other side, and now it's not leaking, but it kind of ran around. So you might want to find something that fits in there good and tight before you pull it off, because it comes out pretty fast. I'm gonna have to pause to pull that off and then I'll... Okay, I got both of those pulled up and plugged off. If you hold them up high, as high as you can before you stick the pin in there, or the pencil or plug, whatever you're gonna plug it with, they won't leak too bad if you hold them up high, because the tank is down here. If you let them go down below the level, the fuel level in the tank, then they'll leak really bad. Next thing you got to do, there's two clamps right here. It has Phillips head screws, one right there, one on each carburetor. You just loosen those, and when you pull the carburetor off, I got to go get a screwdriver. Okay, you loosen those clamps, and you should be able to pull the carburetor right off. There's one. The gas is going to leak out if you tip it sideways, so keep it level until you get it in a spot where you're ready for the gas to leak out, because there's gas in the bottom of it. I'm going to place it over to the side, and then I'll take my other carburetor off, and then there's the carburetor. The bottom of the carburetor has these screws on them. I'm going to drain the gas out and then turn it upside down. Okay, I found a tripod to put my camera on anyway. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean these off with my parts cleaner off on the outside. Before I even take it apart at all. Get all the dirt off the outside. Will help. You can use a can of carburetor cleaner. Works just fine too. This one's a lot worse. Almost looks like it was leaking right here on the bottom. All the crop that's on the bottom here. Probably want to wear rubber gloves when you're using chemicals. It stays on your hand. It keeps your skin from getting dried out and stuff. This kind that I have isn't that toxic or anything, so there's no real bad fumes or any of that. So I don't need to wear a mask. Some of the carburetor cleaners you buy are real toxic, so you gotta wear like a mask, make sure you have good ventilation, stuff like that. Okay, then the next thing I'm going to do is take a 17mm wrench, remove this from the bottom of the bowl. That's where the main jet is. And as you can see, I don't know, I guess you can see it, but it is black in there, just totally dirtier than heck. And when that gets full of dirt, sucks it right into this main jet right here. That's the main jet. Careful not to lose any parts. I'm just going to do one carb at a time, I believe. And then you take these screws out right here on this bowl. This is the float bowl for the carburetor. And this is a Mikuni carburetor. This came off of a Skidoo 583 Summit. That's what we're doing this for on. Take all 4 of these screws all the way out, all the way loose. I'm worried I'm going to drop one down in the parts fluid without lying on the tray, and then I'll have to go fishing for it in the deep fluid. My parts cleaner. Let's see. Okay, I got that all the way out. And on this type of carburetor, the floats, I got all 4 screws sitting there. The floats sit right here, and they have this little plastic tab that holds them on, so they won't fall off. And it's actually pretty clean in there. I don't think I'm going to remove those. I think I'm just going to clean it up without taking those clear off, because sometimes these little plastic tabs break, especially if they're old, and then it won't go back on. So I'm just going to leave those in there and just clean around them as best I can. I'm pretty sure I can get it clean, because the bottom of this part doesn't look bad. And on this part right here, what I need to do is I need to take this jet out right here, which is usually about an 8mm wrench, and then right in here is the slow jet. I need to remove that, and then there's a little pin right here that holds this. This is the needle and seat valve. It lets the fuel in or turns it off when it's full, and it has to be adjusted to a 90-degree angle. Otherwise, if it's too high, the carburetor will flood over. If it's too low, it'll starve your cylinder from getting enough fuel, and that's not good. So I'll have to pause the video to do that. Okay, got the jets out of there. Now, this screw on the side with the spring on it, that's the air fuel mixture, or the idle screw. Oh. This one's the idle screw, because I can see it coming through right here, and it goes up against the slide that pulled out first, and it lets it go down so far. And I'm not going to take that out because I don't have no reason to do it. The air fuel mixture is on this side, it looks like. So this is the first time I took this carburetor apart, and some of them are a little bit different. Anyway, normally you turn the screw all the way in slowly until it stops. Don't try to force it real tight, and you count how many times you turn it, how many revolutions. Usually they're right around 2.5, and then write it down so you won't forget, so you can do it when you put it back in. You can put it the same, and then you take it all the way out so you can clean out that passageway. Okay, next I'm going to take out this screw right here. I've already got it loosened. And I pulled it out, and I noticed that there's a spring behind it, but it doesn't want to fall out, so I'm going to have to be real careful not to lose it while I'm cleaning it. Anyway, I got all those out. I'm going to run parts cleaner through everything and clean out all the gunk that I can find. And then I'm going to take this right here. It's a tip cleaner for a welder. And I'm going to try to find the one of these that fits the best, and run it through the jets. This one here is the main jet. The slow jet is the smallest one, and I'm just going to make sure there's nothing in there. You don't want to You want to be careful not to make the hole any bigger, but just want to get it nice and clean anyway. So I got the hole all totally cleaned out, and now I'll run parts cleaner through this and clean it all out. And I'm going to pause while I'm doing that. Okay, the next step, I got it all cleaned out with the parts cleaner, and I don't want to have any residue or anything in it, or any fluid left in it. So I'm going to take compressed air and blow out it, clean off the outside. Then I'm going to stick it on every single spot where anything goes through. Make sure it's all blown out real good. It wouldn't be good to have any of that fluid in here. Plus I know that I got the passageways cleaned out if the air goes through real well. And I can feel it going through on the inside. Okay, I got that all blown out good. I'll just take the main jet, which is right here. Make sure it's all blown out good. The bottom part. I cleaned it with the cleaning fluid also in the tank, and just want to make sure no junk left in it. Got that all cleaned out. And the bowl right here, or the bowl cap, whatever you want to call it, is still dirty. I haven't touched it yet. I'm gonna see if I can loosen it up with a screwdriver. I got cheap gloves, so my gloves are tearing. And I'll see if I can get that junk out of there with the parts cleaner. Sometimes it sticks in there real bad. It's not supposed to be black. It's supposed to be the same color as the outside. Black means there's gas in it, or dirt in it. Dried up gas, varnished gas. Sometimes it builds up so high it stops the main jet from getting any fuel, or even maybe just slow it down a little bit. Okay, now I'll try. Looks like I'm getting real close. It's a little bit more cleaner and I'll have that. Then you just do the same thing with the other carburetor. I'm going to put this one all back together before I do that. Okay. Got it all blown out, dried off, everything. I'm going to show you how to reassemble it. It's just the reversal of the disassembly, pretty much. Anyway, I already put the slow jet in. It takes a real small flathead screwdriver. And here's the main jet. It looks a little bit tarnished still, but I cleaned it out. Felt like it was a little bit wet because it was sitting on the pan. Anyway, you thread that back in. Make sure it's nice and snug. Then I always double check. I put my finger inside the carburetor. Blow air in there. If I feel airstream coming through, I think I'm pretty good. And then I left all the floats in the carburetor, so all I got to do is put it back on here like that. Put all the screws back in. Tighten them all up with the screwdriver. I'm not going to waste the video time doing that. And then the piece off the bottom, I got it all nice and cleaned out. Make sure the gasket is still in good shape right here. Gasket or O-ring, whichever one it has. This one has a gasket. And it's good. Looks good to me. And you just thread it back into here and tighten it up. Takes a 17mm end wrench, if I didn't say so before. Snug it up, get it really tight. Phillips screwdriver on these. Okay, now I'm going to do the reassembling video. Carburetor, all nice and clean. Checked it out. Blew it out with air hose, clean it off. All nice and clean. Just got to slide it onto the boot. Okay, slide it onto the boot. If you can't get it to slide on there very well, then you may have to loosen the clamp just a little bit more. This one slid on pretty good. Now I'll get the other one. Slide it on too. It's all nice and clean. I didn't show cleaning both of them, but they're both exactly the same. Same process. That one's being a little bit difficult. So I'm going to loosen this screw right here a little bit, this clamp. And now it slipped right in. Okay, make sure you got them level. This clamp looks a little loose, so I'm going to tighten it up. Okay, once you get the clamps all done up nice and tight, then you need to put the lines back on. And the fuel lines, check on the ends of the fuel lines and make sure that neither one of them split or anything when you're taking it off, or just from age. And this one looks fine. Can't see any splits or no holes, no gas is leaking out when I put it down like this. So I'm going to pull my pencil out of there, the plug, slip it on the carburetor, turn the clamp around where I can get to it, and then use needle nose pliers. Slide the clamp back down right about the middle of the brass part of the carburetor, or the spigot, where it hooks up, and it's not leaking. No leaks. The fuel should be flowing into it right now and filling it up, and there's no leaks yet, so probably going to be in good shape with that one. The other one, I think I got it moved around to the wrong side of the sled. Okay, sorry, I paused it because I put the long one over here and it should have been over here. Anyway, I did the same thing. Hooked it up over there, slid the clamp down. Now I'm checking this one here. I thought it got split when I took it off, but it must have been one of the airlines because it doesn't look split anywhere. Doesn't seem to be leaking anywhere. It's all completely dry. I'll pull my plug out. Gas comes out. Put it on the carburetor. Slide the clamp down into place. It's easier for me to do it with the needle nose pliers. Some people like to use other pliers. But usually I get the job done better with needle nose. But usually it's being a little difficult on me right now. There, got that one. And then you got the high altitude compensator lines. I can check these before I put it on. This one right here has a split in it. Right there, why it split when I was taking it off. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take some cutters and just cut that part of the hose off. So I got a fresh spot to work with. That one looks good now. This is good. Good here. Good here. Good here. Everywhere else it looks good. And we just got to hook it back up. And remember, the air box goes like that, so you have to make sure you got it like this so you don't have to fight with the hoses. They don't have clamps on them, they just slide on. They usually go on a lot easier than they came off because there's a barb on the brass fitting that holds it from falling off. And it slides on, but it doesn't come off. Those are on real good. And there's one that goes to each carburetor, two ends, one on each side of the carburetor. This one, this hose goes to this carburetor. This hose goes to this carburetor. And so on. Okay, I got all the hoses hooked back up. Now, if you made sure you didn't get these two mixed up, they're both exactly the same anyway, but it's better to put them back the way they were. Right here, there's a spot. This one goes to the left side of the snowmobile. That's where the idle screw is. The idle screw seats up against that little notch, that little deal right there. There's a pin inside the carburetor that goes right into this edge right here. So you gotta carefully put it down in there so that little needle on the end, this deal, goes down through the hole in the middle of that jet. You turn it, and it should slide right in there. Should fall right into place like that. If it doesn't, then you haven't got it right. Haven't got it in there right. Tighten that up good and snug, because you don't want it getting any dirt in there. Same with the other one, it's the same way. This goes to the left side of the snowmobile. This long groove that goes all the way goes to the right side. Put it in there nice and straight. Don't try to force it or you'll damage it. slips all the way down in. It's all the way to the bottom. Easily slide the or screw the cap tight. Right, this little boot slid up. I want to make sure that's down against the top of the cable that keeps dirt from getting in there. Next comes the airbox. This deal right here. I'm going to take my air hose and I'm going to blow it out and make sure that it doesn't have any dirt in it or anything. Okay, I got that all nice and clean, blown out. Now, hold the compensator, high altitude compensator up, or the hat, HAC, set the carburetor of the box down in there, and work the carburetors back into the holes in it, and then put the high altitude compensator back in. I almost missed it too. There's a breather hose that goes up here, leads towards the gas tank, but it just kind of ties off up here, and it has a T on it. Tees both carburetors. One hook's there and one hook's there. Make sure you put that back on. I almost forgot to put it on. And then it's time to put the airbox on. Sorry, I was just double checking it out. Okay, the airbox is back on. High altitude compensator is in. Carburetors are slid right all the way into the airbox. You want to make sure you do that. And then there's a strap right down here. You got to hook that up. That holds the airbox from falling off. That's the only thing that holds it on. Kind of hard to do it. Holding the camera, but okay. Next, I reinstall the belt guard. I put some silicone in, lubed my clutch and my secondary clutch with some silicone, clean them all up so they would be working properly. On the Skidoo, you just hook it on, put that through those two little holes. On the back, it just snaps into place right there. I put two brand new spark plugs in. Make sure that I don't have no problems there. Double check everything. Make sure everything's hooked up. Look underneath and make sure it's not leaking gas or anything. Make sure you got plenty of antifreeze, plenty of oil. Everything looks good before you try to start it. Make sure you leave no tools down inside. Okay, before I open my shop door and start it up, I'm going to show the tools that I use. It's a regular Phillips screwdriver that is flathead also. And then I use this to pry the hoses off. You can use a regular flathead screwdriver. And then I use needle nose pliers to take the clamps off. I use two pencils to plug the hoses. I use a pair of channel locks to get the tops of the carburetors off. This is the tip cleaner that I use to clean the jets out on the carburetors. You can get these on eBay or at your local hardware store that sells welders and welding supplies. It's called a tip cleaner. 17mm wrench to get the plug off of the bottom of the carburetor. And I used a crescent wrench to take the jet out because I didn't have one handy the right size. I used a spark plug wrench because I changed the plugs. And I used this is the air chuck that I use, hooked up to my air compressor. That's not something that you have to have. You can just wipe it off real good. And then you can use carburetor cleaner from Walmart or local hardware store. Works just fine rather than having to use the chem dip like I did. Okay, now I've got the carburetors all in, got it all ready to go, I hope. And I'm going to hit the primer a couple of times. No, I'll put the camera down.
Skidoo, and hopefully you know what to do on the Skidoo now. He fixed it up, so now he's driving it and having great fun with the Skidoo.